Hello friends. Hey, if you watched the video of how to do a line drawing, I was really aiming at just showing people how I achieved doing some minimalistic one line drawings and the process and all the mistakes that I made and all the muck ups and how I had to work out the paper, the types of pen to use and all that. That is all there on that video if you haven't seen it. So if you're interested in giving one line drawing, minimalistic type drawings a go, take a look at that video. But going on from that now, what I'm going to do is after I did those one line drawings, I'm very pleased with some of the results, and I've put them up on the wall. You know, it's a good thing. Put your stuff up where you can view it, and just leave it there for a couple of days, and come back to it and take a look, or even put it away in a shelf, and then come back and look at it. It's kind of like you come back with different eyes. And it's the same with your painting, you know. There are paintings that I've done, and I've come back 6 months later and looked at them and go, my goodness, did I do that? You see them through different eyes, I think, after you put them out of sight for a while. But anyway, after looking at these paintings for a couple of days, or, well, they're drawings, I shouldn't say paintings, but after looking at them for a couple of days, I thought, you know what I'd like to do? It was add a splash of colour. And so basically they're roses, minimalistic, very simple. If you saw the other video, you'll know what I'm talking about. So perhaps you really need to pop back over there and have a look at the one-line minimalistic drawing video before you watch this one. But I'm going to show you how I added colour to them, the process I went through, and what I had to do. So here we go. Let's go and have a look. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you what I did and how I made my minimalistic line drawings initially. You may recall, if you saw the first video on it, that I started drawing on this type of a A4 pad. And this is not very flash paper, but it does the job. Now, not a good idea, I mentioned in the first video, because of this. When you take this out, if you're going to frame this, then you've got this problem with this. So you need to get A4 pads that you pull out of the, let's get rid of that one. And you need to get paper so that if you're going to do an A4, that what you do is you have the full A4, no perforations there. Because when you go to frame it, you end up producing something good, you find, oh, those holes. So let's just go back to, I'm not going to talk about the concept and everything, but you have the concept, and for me it was minimalistic. Now, I've done this one since that time, and what I also realized was that if I want to put a splash of color in, the plan was to use acrylic. That what I would have to do is go to a different type of paper. Now I'm just going to be, now here's another one that I have done, and I put colour in it. Now I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but what I went to was, now these are a very cheap pad, but they do work really well. You can get them at the $2 shop. They're cheap in New Zealand, NewZealandArtist. As I understand it, they're distributed from Australia. They're A4, and this is for oil and acrylic painting. Now, this here is important. This is 360 grams. There's 10 sheets, but you really need something of that thickness, maybe 340 GSM or 360 GSM, because when you put your paint, your coloured paint, on the paper, because acrylic, as you know, most of you would know, acrylic is a water-based paint. So when you put your water-based paint on, especially if you want that very light look, which is exactly what I was after, you're mixing the paint with water, and so the paper is going to absorb that, and you don't want it buckling. Okay, so you need a reasonable, if you're going to say 100 GSM, it's probably going to be too thin. Now, of course, as you come up with your GSM rating, it is going to be more expensive, but probably better if you can go to at least 400, 300 minimum, I would say. So you've done your design. Now, this one for me was a fail. I do want to show you some of my failures as well as the successes, as what I did in the line drawing. I showed you all the mistakes I made so that as you go through, it's going to be a lot easier for you not to make those same mistakes. Sorry, I'm just moving things around here. I don't have a tripod in that at this particular time. So what I had done is I got my acrylic paper, my acrylic oil paper, and I decided that with the rose on the end of my simplistic paintings, I wanted this almost movement effect. And so I mixed up a bit of red. You can mix up any sort of red you like. Be careful with red, it's a very, very strong colour. And you don't need much of it. So when you mix it, just mix a minimum amount. And I used quite a bit of water because I really wanted it almost to look like watercolour painting, not acrylic. Do you know that lovely effect you get with watercolour paintings with a kind of that kind of, I don't know how to explain it, that kind of light coming through? That is the sort of effect that I really wanted because this is minimalistic painting. Now what I did to achieve this idea of the petals and the movement is I used what's called a fan brush. Here's a fan brush, and I would dip that in and have a very watery paint, put it on the rose and just spin it like that. Just very lightly. You're better off just to do it so lightly. Keep it away. Keep it away. Don't push it too much into the paper, and remember that you've got water in that paint. So once you've done it, don't fiddle with it, don't touch it, all right? Now, if you smear it and you put a blob of red over here, that's the end of it. You've ruined the whole thing. So you take that off very gently, get it right away from your picture so that you don't have dribbles and stuff all over it and muck the whole thing up. Easy to do. We've all made mistakes. We all muck up. We all do that. I did one of these, and it was going so well, and then right at the end of it, it started to dry, and I realized there was about 3 or 4 little red dots, little spots. Because it's minimalistic, that would look stupid. Maybe if it was abstract or something like that, wouldn't matter. But because it's minimalistic, you don't want little drips of paint and goodness knows what all over it. Just this minimalistic white sheet. Now, as a result, I want to show you these. Now, these are the successful ones that I have done. I was very pleased with that. Now, as you can see, I haven't put a lot of colour in it. I've only put the colour of the bowl and the leaves and the rose. But, you know, when you put this on the wall, you can clearly see the lines. And the other thing I was really trying to achieve, you see how I've really, with the orange paint in here, what I've done is I've kept it a little bit on the thick side here, but I've made it kind of like let the light through here. Over here, what I've done is I have watered the orange paint right down, and I decided I'm just going to do one sweep. So I got a brush and whoop, right across there. It kind of went a little bit to the end. But you see, I wanted these lines to be showing. And I was thinking, oh, now I'll fill this up with dirt and put some brown coloured paint in here. But no, this is minimalistic painting. This is one line drawing. And as I went through, I just took it really easy, made these a little bit dark. I think this colour here was sap green, and I'm not sure if this was permanent crimson or something like that, but it was acrylic paint. And so I really was very, very fussy. On this one, I didn't use the fan brush. I used another brush, which was just a very fine brush, and I did go over the line there a little bit. But you see here I've gone over that line. It doesn't matter. You see, it doesn't matter, because you're painting on a real thin paint on here, and you get this lovely effect. Now, here is another one that was successful, and I'm just, sorry, I have to kind of lean over. I was very pleased with that. I think that really is going to look lovely in a frame. And you can still see one of the aims that I had was, as I mix the pigment and mix the water with the acrylic paint, was that the black lines underneath would show through. And there's a little bit of that movement. I did this with a fan brush. And then all of these lines were just like I showed you in the other drawing video, how to do a one-line drawing. And that's how I did all of this. So all of these black lines are a little bit important to me, because it's a one-line drawing with a little bit of splash of colour. And that does look good, even if I do say so myself. I don't like being one of those artists who, you know, boast too much. This one, very pleased again, and I just want to show you what I've done. Simple, simplistic, minimalistic, lovely, airy feeling, a lot of negative space, because this is all the white here is a negative space. And you come down here. Now I've put this one in some sort of it almost looks like a glass that you would drink out of, but you know, simple lines, not necessarily connecting, just simple, representing a table. But when I come through here again, and this I think is very effective, I was thinking the light is coming from the left hand side, it's hitting the vase or the glass here, and it's leaving a shadow. So the shadow is at 45 degrees. So here we go, the light here is hitting this, and you've got this little bit of a shadow, and as you come around here, it's getting lighter and lighter. Now, of course, we know that glass is transparent, and so that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, this is a transparent glass, and by watering that paint down with water and making it like using the acrylic paint, but turning it into like a watercolor medium, I get this lovely effect. And there's the shadow, and a little bit light on that side again, just making it interesting. And then I decided to put a little bit of something in there. Now, if you said, what is that? I don't know. Is it petals? Is it beetles? Is it little black currants that little Johnny has dropped in there as he walked past, throwing his lunch out that he was meant to eat? No, I don't know what that is, but it's kind of like it could be. Let the viewer fill in the details. Let the viewer come along and decide what that is. Let the viewer decide. Let the viewer have a little bit of a say in the artwork. So the viewer will fill in all the details. I don't need to worry about that. You, the viewer will fill in the details. Now there's one last one here. This one, my fourth one. I'm sorry, I'm moving the camera, jiggling around. Apologies for that. But here's the fourth one, and this one is really superb. So we come up here, got a simple line drawing with a number of roses. Now you might notice on this one that it is very light. The paint is very light. Again, fan brush, getting that effect with the fan brush. But at the same time, mixing quite a bit of water and then just dabbing it on. Just dab. When I came into these leaves here, I decided to do something else, just a little bit different. Let's try and get all these things out of the way of the camera. That's the camera strap you can see dangling down there. But now you see, what I've done there is I've put a bit of yellow. I've added a bit of yellow into there. a little bit of yellow, bit more variety. So we have like the light side of the leaf, and we have the dark side. We have something happening there with the yellow. We're just adding some different. The other thing is, when you put the brush strokes in, always try to alter the brush stroke. Don't be repetitious. Don't put the same brush strokes. You'll see that most of that, if you have a really close look, it's all very different. Sometimes the tendency, and I've done it, sometimes the tendency is, say if you're painting something and you find, oh, that works really good. And so what you do is you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. Now, I recently saw a very interesting painting locally here of a lady who's painted a seascape, and she's put these rocks in it. Just want to explain that. She's put rocks in it, and way over here is the horizon, and she's put one rock there, and that's obviously worked really well. So she's put another one there, another one there, another one there. And it's like these rocks are in like a number of lines. And you know something, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I've never seen a seascape looking like that. I'm going to take you over here and put this up. Now, it's not a lot of light here, but I'll just chuck it on there. Now, you see, when you come back, that's another painting. There's a couple of seascapes I've done. Actually, I might as well show that to you while I'm here. I'm going to talk about these soon. That's at a beach called Foxton Beach, New Zealand, and that one is Horton Bay. That is not yet finished, and I've been thinking a lot about this one, and I'm going to talk and make a video about this painting and what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it, because it needs something. You'd have to agree, it needs something. There's something missing. And I've been looking at it for weeks, and I worked it out, what it is and why, and the composition. And I'm going to talk about that. So here we go. When I put that up, now, you know, you imagine if I have that in a frame, a nice frame, a nice A4 frame, and I got that, and I keep it clean like it is, maybe put a very light signature on it here with my name and year, that is going to look really something.